Legends, and welcome back to the Press Room Podcast presented by Zwift. This video is all about Mark Cavendish and where he will be riding in 2023. We've just seen he's missed out on selection for the Tour de France this year, which is really disappointing, but you can understand why they chose Jakobsen, and he was going to do the Tour, Jakobsen. It was, I think Pat Lefebvre said maybe December last year that Jakobsen would be going. So he really needed to get Corona for Cavendish to start, no matter how good Cav's form is. And you know what? If you go back and watch the Great Britain National Road Race, which it's on GCN Plus, you will see that's probably one of the best wins Cavendish has ever done in his career. It was really, really something. So go back and watch that. But where is Cav going to ride next year to get that Tour de France position? Now, he can't stay at Quickstep. Tim Merlier is moving to Quickstep next year. So that means he's going to have to battle Merlier and Jakobsen for that Tour de France posse. That is not going to happen. He will be moving teams. His agent will be going absolutely gangbusters in the next 3 weeks to try and organise a transfer for the following year and a new contract. The contracts are always done around that Tour de France time. It's kind of like, it's like those big... those big, like the Interbike, Eurobike. It's kind of like that for agents, where all the agents and team managers get together and start organising and meeting and greeting. So his agent will be working overtime. And when you think about the teams that Cavendish might want to ride for, you've also got to consider the teams that could actually take on a sprinter, are willing to. So that's teams that are not focused too much on GC. You see sometimes the Tour de France, a team will take a split team, like Jumbo. They're taking sort of a Wout van Aert for green with a few helpers, and they're also taking their climbing team, kind of like Bora. Bora have taken Vlasov, some medium mountain sort of helpers, and Sharkman, Conrad Kamner, but they also have Hala and Danny Van Poppel, and obviously Sam Bennett missed out, not fit enough. But he needs a team that's either going to split their Tour de France run between GC and sprinting, or a team that's just stage hunting, or a team with a full lead out. Now, the teams that have full lead out trains, that go to the Tour, like your FDJs, your Green Edge, like today, Bike Exchange, they're probably sorted. They've got their sprinters already. So it needs to be a team that has a really open roster. And then it also needs to be a team that has the cash to do so, because Cavendish ain't going to be cheap. But most of all, and this is what really makes it quite an easy decision to see where Cavendish will be riding in 2023, is the bike. Cavendish has been tied to Specialized for a long, long time. And even when he moved teams and went to, say, for example, what's it called? Quebecer. Even when he went to Quebecer or Dimension Data, it was clear he was unhappy with the bike. He made several comments over his course of his career when he rode for Dimension Data, McLaren, or Bahrain McLaren, when he was on BMC, a Cervelo, and what was on Bahrain? Merida. Yuck. He made several comments about the bike and the performance and how it was not up to standard with the bike that he'd ridden for so long at Omega Pharma, at Quickstep when he was originally there. That S-Works Venge that they were on in that 2013, 2014 sort of period, that was one of the fastest bikes, and it was years ahead in terms of performance and speed of its competitors as a sprinting bike. And Cavendish is noted in his books. He's been in the news saying it. He's seen videos of him having absolute meltdowns about the bike, that it just not is up to standard. So Cavendish is not going to move bike manufacturers next year. He will not. He will stay with Specialized. Now, when you think about who's on Specialized for next year, there's two teams. It's Bora and it's Total Direct Energies. He's not going to be in Quickstep, which is obviously the third Specialized fitted out team. It's going to be Bora and it's going to be Total. Now, both teams actually make sense. Bora, they're struggling with Bennett. Bennett had not gone into form for this year. He's really had a stinker, and it's kind of been disappointing not seeing him get back to his level. He probably will, but by then the other sprinters would have caught up, and he's probably lost his peak years there, which is disappointing. He didn't get ready for the Tour this year. They're rolling with Van Poppel, which is just bizarre. But when you think about the actual team in terms of a sprint team, it makes sense because they've got a pretty decent train. You've got Marco Halla coming the bodyguard. You've got Ryan Mullen, who's really crucial in that 3K to 1K mark. And then, of course, you've got Van Poppel, who is really making himself a bit of a name for himself as a key last man, kind of like your Rickards and your Morkov. He's in that level at the moment. So Cav could go to Bora, but Bora seemed to be transitioning away from that sprinting lineup and the Sagan lineup of old to more of a GC-focused team. Now, Bora, their Tour de France team, they're obviously focused on GC with Vlasov, and they've brought your Schachmann, your Kamna, Conrad, those sort of guys to help him. I'm not sure why they even brought Van Poppel, kind of weird, but maybe out of goodwill for his great season so far. But you can see that they're starting to angle their way towards GC. Next year, I think we'll see Jai Hindley have a crack at the Tour. And that doesn't leave a lot of room for a sprinter, let alone Cav, who would want at least 2 men with him for the lead out. So if we look at Total Direct Energies, that is a team that would certainly be open to having someone like Cavendish, just for the exposure alone. But also they've got the team. Their Tour de France team is really just whoever's in form. It's not really geared to help this rider out. It's just whoever's in form plus Sagan. So Cavendish would slot straight in there and he would command a decent lead out. Now, in terms of lead outs, it's pretty thick and it's pretty thin at Total. I mean, you could bring Turgis, you've got Terpstra in the train. You could have Daniel Oss. There's a couple of big engines there. Chris Lawless, maybe P3, like third last position. Bodnar, Edvald Bossenhagen. Yeah, you could make something of that. Cav would probably bring a couple of riders with him. We'll see. But he could go there and Total could afford him. And he'll be on that bike. He'll be on the Specialized SL7, the super bike, the bike that he loves so much. And I guess he could also choose the calendar he wants. He could go, I want these races up to the Tour. I'm in there and these riders have to come with me. And Total wouldn't even bat an eyelid. If you did that in Bora, you're going to have to fight for positions for Paris-Nice, for Torino, Belgium Tour. He'd be battling against the GC focused riders of the team versus on Totals, they're just running with the stage hunters, Sagan, your Berger, is it Mathieu Bergedal, all those sort of guys. They have a sprinter in Bonifacio, but let's face it, he's been pretty flat since he's moved to that team. Sagan and Cav could be in the same team at the Tour. There wouldn't be any problems there. I don't think they really like each other anymore. Cav's been pretty, well, he said in his last book that he released, I think, early this year. Early this year, he said he still is not on terms with Sagan, but I mean, when it comes to getting the legacy, securing that Tour de France record, being the most decorated Tour de France rider of all time, I think he'd suck it up for a couple of years to get that chance. So I think Cavendish is going to be moving to Total Direct Energies next year. I'd be really interested to see what you guys think. If you think he's going to move away from Specialized, what manufacturer would he go to? What team would he go to? The only other bike out there that's near as quick in a sprint as that Specialized bike is Cervelo with that new S5, but he ain't going to Jumbo, right? So unless some other teams acquire Cervelo or Specialized, I think there's really only 2 options. It could be Bora and it could be Totals. That's where I think it's going to be. But let me know, who do you reckon he's going to go to? Put it in the comments. See how we go. If you're new to the channel, you haven't listened to any of the podcast episodes, season 1, season 2 are all ready to listen on any podcast players. Season 3, for you guys waiting to see when it's starting. It's starting in July. It's starting in just before the Tour de France Femmes, which is obviously a big event for Zwift. I'm really excited. I've got some awesome episodes in the gun with some of the world's best cyclists, of course. I think I've got 1, 2, 3. I've got I've got a reigning world champion, previous world champion, and multiple. I've got so many guests. It's going to be mental. So I can't wait to see you guys there. Can't wait to drop those episodes. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Where's Cav going? Absolute disgrace he's not at the Tour. But see you again really soon on another video or the Press Ring Potty. See ya.